Hello there, my name is Kaitlyn. Right now I'm gonna do my Diversathon wrap-up. So Diversathon ended yesterday. It was for a week. It was a week-long read-a-thon celebrating diversity. And I read 3 books during this week, which is pretty good for me, I'd say. I didn't get to the group book, which is unfortunate, but I will talk about the 3 books that I did read. The first book that I read this week was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. This is an Own Voices book about a trans girl. She moves to a new town and a new school, and nobody in her new town knows that she is trans. And she meets this boy and quickly starts a relationship with him, and she sort of like feels like she should tell him, and then some people that she knows are telling her that she doesn't have to tell him, like it could be dangerous for her, stuff like that. So Amanda is the main character and she starts this relationship with Grant, and he's okay. He's not like super interesting, I guess, but one thing that I did like about him and their relationship was that he wasn't like pushing her to do like sexual things with him. He was very like, is this okay? We can stop. And when she wanted to stop, he was like, this is fine. So I really liked that. However, the ending of this book, there were just like questions left unanswered. I felt like some characters were sort of unresolved. Overall, I really liked this book. I think it's a great book for, well, anyone to read really, but especially for like young people. Because I know when I was like in high school, I didn't really know anything about trans people except for like the sort of negative ideas that I had kind of heard my whole life. So I think it's a good book for young people to read, to be able to understand a trans experience. I'm not going to say the trans experience because it doesn't encompass like all trans experiences. The author even said that she wrote this book to make it as easily digestible for cisgendered people to read. And I understand why she did that and why she felt that she had to do that, but it's also sort of sad that she had to do that, if you know what I mean. But Amanda, the main character, she's very like conventionally attractive and feminine, and she passes very easily. She transitioned very young, she had surgery, and those aren't always the experiences of trans people. So I think that's just an important thing to note if you read this book, but you should read it. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was The Girl with 7 Names, a North Korean defector story by Hyun-So Lee. This is a defector story. It's about this girl who was born in North Korea, and then she crosses the border into China, and her life is forever changed. I've read a few defectors stories before. I really liked this one. There were some differences. One thing in particular that I really liked about this one compared to other stories that I've read is that she goes to South Korea in the end, and she talks about how difficult it is for North Koreans to adjust to life in South Korea because it's so wildly different. And that was something that I have barely heard anyone talk about before, but I think it's really interesting and important. I don't want to like spoil the book. I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So she talks about how North Koreans, once they get to South Korea, it's very difficult for them to adjust because they're so used to life in North Korea, and there's several different reasons why it's difficult for them to adjust. One is that any education that they had in North Korea doesn't count in South Korea. So like if someone had a really important government job in North Korea, it doesn't count for anything in South Korea, so they have to completely start over. And also in North Korea, they don't really have any like concept of freedom. They're just so used to the way things are, they don't know any other way. So that's a difficult adjustment for them. And the author talks about how in South Korea people would really sort of look down on North Koreans. At the end of the book she said that that attitude was like shifting a little bit, so hopefully it has continued to shift. I just love learning more about like North Korea and about the lives of North Koreans. She also touched on like how the Chinese government will help capture North Koreans and send them back to North Korea, where they'll be put in these horrible camps, possibly killed. And so she's talking about how like China and some other countries are sort of like complicit in the horrible treatment of North Koreans. And I thought that that was another really interesting and important thing that she touched on. So yes, I thought that this book was amazing and I would highly recommend it. The third book that I read was Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. Sana Takeda was the artist in this, and then Marjorie Liu wrote the story. I actually really loved this. It's so beautiful. Like, the art is just stunning and amazing, and I'm obsessed with the artwork in this, and I liked the story and the world a lot too. It's very dark, and the storyline and the artwork I think go really well together, but there's somewhat a lot of like blood and gore. I personally don't mind that, but there's like people eating people and stuff like that, and there's like these two races at war with each other. There's a wall. Relevant. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? There's a map of the world at the very end of the book, like the last page. I feel like that would have been helpful further ahead in the book. There were a lot of things that were sort of explained later than they should have been in this story. Like at the end of each chapter we get like a lesson from a cat about the world, but I kept having to like flip back a little bit to be like, what is happening? Oh, okay. But other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty like suspenseful, like I was on the edge of my seat, like what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? So I'm definitely gonna read the next volume of this because I really want to see what happens next, and I'm obsessed with the artwork. So yes, that is what I read during Diversathon. I'm definitely going to try to focus more on diversity in my reading as I go forward, and hopefully I'll also be participating in the next Diversathon. So yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!